Welcome, everyone. Thanks so much for joining. We'll just give it another minute or two and then we'll get started.
And if anyone has any questions, you can just put them in the chat there, and we'll answer them either during or near the end of the webinar.
We have our first question already. Good morning. Amazing. Good morning, Leah. You can also chat. You're welcome to write in the chat where you're joining us from. Usually we have sort of a nice cross spectrum across Australia and New Zealand. So if you want to let us know the city or the state that you are joining us from while we're waiting to get started, you're welcome to do that as well. Okay, I've got someone in Auckland, New Zealand. Amazing. Riverheads, Queensland. I'm in Melbourne, Victoria. Michael's in Kingscliff, New South Wales.
I was in Auckland on the weekend. Well, let me pronounce it correctly. Waiheke Island.
Wellington, Heidelberg, Victoria, Canberra. Amazing. Christchurch, Invercargill, New Zealand. I was there about 10 years ago on a very fun backpacking trip. Broome, WA. Wow. Amazing. Cool. This is good. Like the next time I want to plan a webinar, or the next time I want to plan a trip, I'll just plan a webinar and I'll just tell everyone to give me their tourist requests. Taronga, New Zealand, Melbourne, Auckland, Wagga Wagga, Christchurch. Amazing. Okay, cool. So I think we'll get started. Welcome everyone again, and good morning, and thanks again for sharing where you're from. That's a bit of fun to kick us off. So my name is Elise. I'm one of the partner managers here at EzzyBills, and I'm going to be giving the webinar this morning. And this is my colleague Michael, who will be, I guess, assisting and here to help with any questions and monitoring the chat as we go. So I guess to start us off, this is sort of the first webinar and the first kind of initial announcement about our new UI. So we're really, really excited about it. Our team and our developers have been working really, really hard behind the scenes to roll this out. Everyone should have the new UI now in your dashboard when you log in. So if you've created a new account in the past little bit, it should default to the new UI. And if you have been using EzzyBills for a while, the next time you log in, you should get the new UI as well. If you do have our page bookmarked and you don't yet have the new UI, then you can just log out and log back in and you should be able to see the new UI. For those of you who have sort of been on my webinars in the past, usually I take a little bit more of a case study kind of approach. But today we're really just going to have a little bit more of a tour of the software because I think it's really important for a couple of reasons. So the first thing is, for many of you, you'd be really familiar with our old UI and where buttons are. And I think it'll be good to sort of just have a brief overview of where the new buttons are and where the menus have moved to. I know, as somebody that, uses the software every day, it did take me a bit of time to learn where all the new things are. So I think it looks great. I think it's a modern look and feel. I think you're really going to love using it. But there are some things that have shifted around a bit or look a little bit different. So I think that is one really important factor. And I think the other thing is that I think for those of you who might only use sort of limited feature sets in the software, this will just be a really good sort of overview of all of the different things we do, most of which we also did in the old UI, but just a way of sort of having a tour of what we do and having a bit of a high level overview. When Michael and I were sort of chatting, a few minutes ago before we started the webinar, I kind of said that most of our webinars sort of choose one feature and really do a deep dive. So, I ran a webinar recently on our Workflow Max integration, and Michael ran one recently about our new AI task feature, and I ran one with a deep dive on our approvals and a deep dive on our mobile app. But we've never really done one that's a little bit more of an overview. So I think this kind of serves those two purposes. One is that a little bit more of an overview of our features and of course where things are in the new UI. So these are just kind of all the things we're going to cover. So we'll go through the HQ dashboard, which is like our multi-entity partner dashboard, an individual company dashboard, and what that looks like, and some of the changes that have happened with that. I'll highlight some of the onboarding videos, which is a new feature of the new UI, something that we never had as part of the old UI. Our apps page, the EzzyBills and connected apps, they've also been sort of shifted a little bit in sort of the look and feel of that page. The payment page, the contacts page, our workflows, our AI tasks, and then some question and answer. So as Michael said before, feel free to pop your questions in the chat as we go. I think it's usually more helpful to sort of ask questions when you've got the screen in front of you and you can refer to a specific thing that I said or a specific thing that's up on the screen. But we will also leave some time for some question and answers at the end. And due to sort of the general nature of this webinar, we're really happy to open it up to any questions you have about the software. So, you know, again, we'll start with a focus on the new UI, but then really happy to have you ask, you know, any questions you have about the software, our features, functionality, et cetera, et cetera. So I guess I'll just throw that out there now so you have a little bit of time to sort of think about it as we go. So I will share my screen with the new UI now, and let's jump in. So this is our, what we call HQ or partner or multi-entity dashboard. This may or may not be something that you would have seen in the old UI, but this screen, like in the old UI, serves a couple of purposes. So one would be if you are a bookkeeper or an accountant managing multiple clients, and you will have the ability here to connect all your clients' accounts and see all of the clients, toggle back and forth between them. You've got the ability to organize things into groups. So there's two main ways of doing that, or two main uses. One would be, let's say, if you've got different team members and you want each of those team members to only see a specific list of clients. So some of the kind of major accounting firms that we have using the product have things structured in that way. You've got, you know, in my sort of Disney example here, Donald Duck's clients, Mickey Mouse's clients, et cetera, et cetera. And the other sort of purpose for using the groups here is if you have a client, let's say, or a business with multiple entities. So if you've got, you know, one business, call it, you know, Walt Disney World, that has multiple entities, multiple zero files, maybe a regular account, a trading account, a trust account, et cetera, then you can use those to sort of link together in a group as well. So once you've got an HQ dashboard, if you'd like to add a new account or new group, you can do that quite simply. So if you want to add a new group, you just click on this add new group, and then you've got the ability to either add a new group or an existing group. So an existing group would be, let's say you're a bookkeeper or an accountant and you've got a client who already has an EzzyBills account that they've set up on their own, and they'd like to bring that account into your dashboard, then you could click on add existing group. And again, add new group obviously would be creating a new group. So again, this is what the screen looks like. You just put in the basic information about the client, add group, and then it will be automatically added to the dashboard. And the same thing with the account. You've got the ability to add a new account or add an existing account. And again, the new account would be a new account for EzzyBills, and an existing account would be if there is already an existing EzzyBills account and you just want to add it to the dashboard. A few other things to show you about this dashboard. So like I mentioned before, we've got the groups across the top, and then we've got the individual accounts down the side. So you can toggle back and forth between the accounts, and you can see them all, what their subscription status is, et cetera, et cetera. And then when you want to log into an individual account, you can just click that login button, which we will do shortly. A couple other things, we've got a usage tab here. So these features and buttons were always at the top, but just to kind of review them, we've got the usage tab. So you've got a list of all of your clients and the usage that they have processed. So how many documents they've processed in the past month, past couple of months, past 12 months, past 24 months, and you can export that as a CSV if you like it for reporting purposes. We've got some global settings, so if there's certain notifications that you want or don't want for your HQ dashboard, you can set those here. And then something that we've added relatively recently in the past number of months is users. And so this is something I think that's really important. And this is one of the reasons that a lot of clients have asked for an HQ dashboard, even if they don't have multiple entities. So I guess this is another use for the HQ dashboard. And that would be to have different team members have individual logins, so they can set their own login and be able to set up their own two-factor authentication. And they've got two options for roles. They've got the role of a user or the role of approver. So if somebody's a user, they've got full access to the system. They can go in, they can process documents, change settings, do anything that they'd like to do in EzzyBills. And generally speaking, we only recommend setting that user permission for members of the finance team, people who are really actively involved in sort of using EzzyBills to process documents. The other role is an approver, and that's exactly what it sounds like, which would be somebody who's approving documents. So this could be a line manager, a department manager, a project manager, a CFO, a CEO, somebody who's not sort of actively involved in the finance function, but somebody who needs to approve bills before they get pushed through to your accounting software. Okay, question. Do single entity companies not feature the HQ button? So it's a good question. So as a default, the answer is no. But if a single entity company does want that, then contact us and we can upgrade your account, assuming you've got all the correct subscriptions in place. Okay, cool. So I think we'll jump into our regular dashboard now. And so I guess for a single entity company, this is what you'll see as sort of the main dashboard if you either set up a new trial or you just have your regular dashboard that you log back into. And this is actually the merging of two screens. So I don't know if you'll remember, but in the past on our menu bar, we used to have dashboard, and then just under we used to have another menu called search approve. And what we've done is actually merge those two screens into one. So we basically have the dashboard functionality and the search approve functionality in the same place now. So you do have the list view as a default, but there is the option of toggling back and forth to the tile view, which is a little bit more similar to what you may be familiar with the old UI. I like the list view better, but again, it's just personal preference. So the processing of documents stays exactly the same. So nothing changes with that. There's still the ability to drag and drop into the white box at the top of the screen. You can send an email to your same email address, so none of that's changed. And the mobile app also has not changed. We're not going to focus on it today, really, but there have been a couple of updates to the mobile app as well over the past little bit. And maybe that'll be a topic for a future webinar. So I guess the added functionality in this screen that, maybe you wouldn't have seen before in search approve is, again, the ability to search. So you can search by supplier. So again, most of my bills are Bunnings, so a lot of things should come up. And maybe it's got to be... so you can search by supplier, you can search by due date, you can search by all sorts of different things. And so that's something that's, I guess, maybe just a little bit more easily accessible now on this new UI that wasn't necessarily accessible in the past. While that page is refreshing, does anyone have any questions? We can take a short commercial break for questions. When is the new UI being rolled out? Yes, so it's a good question. I think I mentioned it at the beginning. So it already has been rolled out. So if you sign up for a new EzzyBills account, that will be the default. And if you have a current EzzyBills account, you need to log out of your account and log back in just to refresh it if you have your page bookmarked. Okay. For multiple approvers, how can we check what approver a transaction is at? Okay, good question. Okay, lots of good questions coming through. Amazing. Michael, do you have any advice on this page? Michael, you're on mute.
Yeah, I'm looking at that now, Elise.
Okay, amazing. Thanks. So I'll just keep on with the questions and just let me know. Okay, and somebody's made a note just saying you have to change it at the top. Logging out doesn't do it. Amazing. Okay, thanks for letting me know, and we'll just go back to the developers. So if you can see on my one, it just says UI2.EasyDoc. So you're welcome to transfer across on your screen as well. Okay, brilliant. We are back up and running. Okay. For multiple approvers, how can we check what approver the transaction is at? So there'll be a status. There'll be a status update here. So it'll say approve, level 2 approve, or in progress or complete. So you'll have a status update there. Is it possible for product codes to go across to accounting software? Yes, 100%. We need to enable stock invoices in order to do that. I can show you right now. So in settings, advanced options, we've got this allow stock invoices. So if you want product codes to go across, you want to enable that allow stock invoices button. And if you've got your item codes set up in your accounting software, then they should push across. Okay, I think I'm gonna, okay. I just tried searching for known supplier of ours, Bunnings, but it found nothing. Okay, I might hand that one off to Michael. Question from Karen Ensor. I just tried searching for known supplier Bunnings, but it found nothing. It does look like there's a little bit of
there's obviously a problem.
Right now.
UI right now, yeah.
So it obviously shouldn't be the case, and I just tried doing the same thing. So yeah, it looks like there's a problem with the search now, but in general, shouldn't be a problem to.
Yeah, maybe Elise, I'll let me look at that and just move on to say the automated task, etc., workflows and that, and I'll get back to you on the dashboard.
Okay, cool. Okay, I'll just take the other couple of questions that have come through and then I'll move on. Okay, is there a way to have multiple line items go to different accounts on the same invoice? Yeah, 100%. So as a default, we do GL coding at a line item level based on your history. So we do look at a line item level, how you've coded things, and that's how things should come through as a draft invoice in Xero. You can always change them at that level, and then we learn as you go. So, you change things to cost of goods sold and accounting and whatever it is. You save and approve the document, and then EzzyBills will learn as you go on how those line items should be coded moving forward. If you do want to sort of look at them and review them before they go through to Xero, you can set up an approval stage where you can sort of have yourself as the approver, and that will basically show you the account codes that EzzyBills has pulled and give you a chance to make those edits before they push through to your accounting software. So I guess those are the two options and the two ways of managing them. Can a user manually approve bills in case the approver who usually approves them is unavailable to do so? Yeah, so I think that's the last question I'll take for this minute, and that is definitely something on the dashboard. So let's say this document is waiting approval, and the approver is on holidays. There's the ability to click on these three buttons and approve the invoice from the dashboard. So anybody that has access to the dashboard can override any approvals that have been sent out, any emails approvals. And so that's another reason that we recommend only giving sort of people on your finance team access to the back end of this, because there is quite a lot of functionality. Okay, so let's move on. So I think we'll sort of start from bottom to top. So I just want to highlight this onboarding video section. I guess it's something I'm really excited about. It's something that I helped, I guess, put together, and it's something that's new in app. So we have always had videos on our website and part of our YouTube channel, but these videos in app are new. And so we have intros to the new UI. We've got intros to each of the major integrations that we have, and a few other bits and pieces, employee expense claims and spend money transactions. So, you know, we're going to go through some of this at a high level, but if you are setting up a new account, you know, your bookkeeper accountant, you have a new client, and you want to sort of just have an overview of how to set things up, then I definitely recommend checking out these onboarding videos. And just going through them. They're all very short. I think, you know, 8 minutes is the longest one. So they're pretty short tidbits of just, you know, connecting your accounting software and making sure that you're up and running and ready to go. In terms of the settings menu, it's basically the same settings as before. We have sort of split out the categories of settings just to make it a little bit clearer, a little bit easier to see where the settings are and sort of how to find things. So again, not going to go through every button, obviously, but I guess just a couple of things that I would have said about the old UI as well, but just in case you don't know. So we always recommend when you're doing an account setup to put in your ABN and your company name. And what that does is basically help EzzyBills identify the correct supplier. So on an invoice, there's obviously two sets of contact details. You've got your contact details and your supplier's contact details. And we just want to make sure that EzzyBills doesn't confuse those two pieces of information. And so by putting your ABN and your company name here, that just helps EzzyBills identify that the other set of contact details on the invoice are for your supplier. And we've got the QR code for the mobile app, and so that's something that's always been in the settings menu. And the email me the EzzyBills mobile how-to is also a button that you'll probably be familiar with from the old UI, and that is basically instructions on how to download the app and how to use the app. And it's a really good piece of content to share with any of your team members who are out in the field and need to download the app and don't necessarily have access to the back end or the EzzyBills dashboard. We've got some other settings here. I always recommend the check for duplicates. And so that basically checks to see that you haven't already pushed the document through to your accounting software. And we do check the accounting software for duplicates, not EzzyBills. So it doesn't matter for this specific feature how the document got into your accounting software. We just look to see if it's there. And if it is, we tell you it's a duplicate and give you the option to reprocess. We've got some security, some subscription information, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so the enable approval workflows section is pretty similar. So again, that would be a default approval if you want a single or two-level approval. And you just have the ability to put in an email address there. So if you do use that section, then that sets up the workflows for approval as a default. So every document that goes through EzzyBills after that will need to be approved by whoever you say we need to be approved by. And we'll talk in a few minutes when we get to the workflow section about how you might set things up if you don't want every document to be approved and you want it to be a little bit more nuanced based on different rules or different factors. Okay, now I'm going to focus a little bit on this section, and we do have a tutorial video specifically about this section because we had a lot of feedback that it was a little bit confusing in the past. So in the past, you might remember there was a single chart and it sort of covered all of these four things: the expense claims, the company cards, the approvers, sort of the departmental approvers, and the saved approvers. And it was a little bit challenging to sort of figure out what to do with it. And so we've split that out into separate charts just to make it a little bit more user-friendly and a little bit easier to use. And like I said, we do have a little tutorial video here to help you if you need it later on when you sort of go back and want to use this feature and set it up. So I'll just show you an expense claim one, and the company credit cards are similar. So what you have to do is click on add a new row, and then you want to put in the name of the employee who's spending the money. So let's say in this case it's me. I'm the employee. I have gone on a trip on the business to Adelaide for a Xero Roadshow, which I did last week. You want to put in my email, which is the one that I use for demos, ezzybillsapproval@gmail.com. You want to put in an approver email. So this would be the person who would need to approve my expenses if they did need to be approved. So just call the manager at mycompany.com. If I did have an annual claim limit, then I could put it in here. So, let's say I could only claim $1,000 a year, I can put it in there. And if my boss doesn't need to approve the expense, we bypass approval and just tick the green arrow there. So that green arrow is new, and it used to be a little bit of a different UI before, so we just tick that green arrow. And that basically generates an upload email address, similar to what we would have had in the past. So in this case, if I needed to submit my flight expense from to Adelaide, I would submit it to eliseselectrical.elise@ezzybills1.com. Or in the mobile app, I could put my name in there. And again, we're not focusing as much on the mobile app today, but it is an option to submit that. With company credit cards, it's basically the same setup, but the one key piece of information here is putting the last four digits of the business bank account in. So it's the same thing. You put the name or the person who's associated with the credit card, an approver email, the last four digits of the business bank account, and then again, when you're processing it, there'll be a green tick box. You take green check mark. You take the check mark, and then again, it generates an upload email. And if we sent an email to eliseselectrical.bob@ezzybills1.com, then it would process the transaction as a spend money and would be ready to be reconciled against the business bank account in Xero ending in 5678. Okay, I think I'll take some questions. Hi, do you have an integration with Workbench? We don't currently have an integration with Workbench, but if you want Workbench to have an integration, you're welcome to ask them to reach out to us, and we're happy to have a conversation with them about it. We do have open APIs, so there is a business called Stick, for example, that just recently built their own integration with us. So they're welcome to reach out to us. We're happy to have a chat, and happy to sort of, see based on the size of their business, et cetera, whether we might.
Yeah, and one more thing I'll add, Elise, is our recent integrations that we have done. We've done it through our sort of automated tasks. So we're able to generate integrations basically from describing what it is we want to do, what we want to integrate with, describe some the information about how the system that we're connecting to, how you connect to it, how you pull suppliers, how you push in bills, etc. So we're able to describe all that and generate an integration. So we basically, our Workflow Max integration was built through our automated task. So integrations are becoming easier to do now. So as long as the system we're integrating with has a REST API, we're able to generate integrations fairly easily. So just reach out to support if you have a scenario that you want EzzyBills to integrate with someone, then just let us know and we can look into how easy it is to do.
Amazing. Thanks for that. Yeah, and it is really exciting that, I guess, with the advance of AI and technology, these kinds of things, which in the past, might have taken weeks, if not months of developer time, can really be done much, much quicker.
And also, at least the dashboards are working fine now. So you managed to break the internet temporarily, but it's all back now.
Okay, and the other Q&A, Janine says she tried to add UR2 but can't be reached, but she was able to fix it. Perfect. Okay, great. Sounds good. So I think everything has been answered, which is great. I think we will continue along where we were, and we will come back to the dashboard at the end. So the next page I want to show you is the apps page, and this page also has had a bit of a facelift, which I really like. It's one of the pages that I think was done really quite well, especially compared to what it was in the past. And we split this page into sort of two sections now, just for sort of a little bit more clarity. So this page is apps, and these are sort of real apps, real businesses that we integrate with. And there was a question before about Workbench. So I mean, this is a pretty comprehensive list of what we do integrate with. So if it's on this page, we probably integrate with them, and if it's not on this page, we probably don't. But one of the things we have added, which is new, is the ability to manage the connections and test the connections in a much easier way. So sometimes there's some confusion. Is my EzzyBills connected to Xero? Is it not connected to Xero? We now have this test connection button, and we've got this sort of notification here saying that we are connected. So that's something that's really helpful, and you can use that for any of the apps that you're connected to, and you can connect to more than one app at the same time. So it's quite common, for example, for our clients using the job and project management software and integrations to connect with multiple pieces of software. So they would be connected, for example, with Simpro and with Xero, or I'm working with a client now who's connected with Workflow Max and with QuickBooks. So you can have two pieces of software connected in one account and set up different workflows to basically help determine where the documents need to go. Now with the EzzyBills apps, we sort of call them apps, but it's really all sort of features and functionality and reporting that's actually baked into our software and included in all of our packages. So again, not going to go through all of them, but just wanted to sort of flag that they are here, and there's a little sort of description under each of them with what they do. I will sort of mention a couple of them that are probably more popularly used. So the first one is the refresh, and this is really important if you've made any changes to your accounting software or your project management software that you want EzzyBills to remember. So I've been using it a lot, for example, with Workflow Max clients. So if they add a new job to Workflow Max and want it to pull through to EzzyBills, then we've got to run a refresh of that. If you add new GL codes to your Xero and you want them to pull across, you've got to run a refresh for that. So that's something that's really important just to know about. The statement reconciliation feature is also really popular, especially with bookkeepers and accountants as well. So if you receive a supplier if you receive a statement from your supplier and it's got a list of all of the invoices on it, you can basically submit it through EzzyBills, and we can run a report and send you a report of the status of each of those invoices. So this one's paid, this one's not paid, this one's due, this one's overdue, etc., etc. So that can save people a lot of time in manual checking as well. Question. Okay, if an invoice is rejected by an approver by accident, how do you reprocess via EzzyBills? It's actually a really good question. And the answer in the past used to be you have to re-upload it, but we've just released new functionality where you actually can reprocess through EzzyBills. So when we get back to the dashboard, we will show you how to do that. Okay, Carolyn, we're currently experiencing an issue where the bookkeeper can see invoices, but store managers can only see things waiting approval at their end. Karen, let's take that up offline. I think in terms of sort of specific individual questions like that, we'll take up online. I'm happy to follow it up with the support team.
Yeah, like I'm guessing it's because they're logging as an approver, and those invoices are not actually been sent to them. Those invoices are probably just sitting in EzzyBills that haven't been assigned to a particular person. So when they log in as themselves, they don't see them. So you'll have to probably change them to a user or set them as the default approver for those invoices, so they get sent to them rather than just sits in EzzyBills.
Michael, I might hand this one off to you. How do we prevent tax adjustment lines coming through into Xero?
So what I'm guessing is that the bill has been extracted and we pushed it through to the accounting system, and after we export it, we discover that the tax isn't quite right, and or either the total or the tax is not quite right, and we have to correct it so that the invoice in Xero matches what was on the original invoice. So normally that correction is necessary, and we have to do it. It might be because it's just a few cents, so rounding, which is unavoidable, or it might be that we misread a charge or something like that. So the thing to do is send that one through to support, and we'll have a look at specifically what the problem is for that.
Amazing. Okay, thanks so much. Okay, I think we're gonna continue on and take some questions later on. So again, probably not much to really discuss with the buy page. I'll just kind of throw it up there. We've got all of our plans. Our pricing hasn't changed, which is really exciting. So everything stays the same, and still the ability to purchase plans, change plans, upgrade plans, etc. So with the contacts page, it's not something that's new with the new UI, but it is something that we've released probably in the past few months, and something that probably a lot of people don't know about. So when you click on the contacts page, there'll be different links for each piece of software you're connected with. So in this case, I'm only connected with Xero. And so what this contacts page does is actually gives us the ability to pull all of your contacts from your accounting software or from your project management software, if that's what you're connected with, and actually set rules and workflows relevant to each contact individually. So again, this is just being pulled from a demo Xero file, but let's say 7-Eleven is one of my suppliers. So a lot of this information in Xero specifically can be set, but in a lot of the other systems that we integrate with, Maya, QuickBooks, the job and project management pieces of software, you can't necessarily set this in the software. So this screen has sort of come as a way to bridge the gap. So for example, if you've got a default GL code to set with that supplier, you could set it here. If you've got a default tracking code to set with that supplier, you can set it here. If you've got a default EzzyBills workflow that you've set up with that supplier, you can set it here. Probably the most relevant piece is the tax code. So in Australia, that would be ABN, and in New Zealand, it would be GST number. And that is basically a way to help us identify suppliers and match suppliers. So if you have a case where we've not been able to correctly identify a supplier. Setting the tax code will help us do that because we look up suppliers based on tax code because that's a more reliable way of doing it, as opposed to reading what's on the invoice. So you just go into the contacts page, click on the link, and again, if you have Xero, you can set this in Xero directly, but with some of the other pieces of software, you can do it through our contacts page. Okay. Okay. Okay, we are going to jump into workflows. So workflows is also something that has been, I guess, completely revamped. The UI really looks very different. Before they were sort of workflows across, now they're up and down, and they're much easier to configure. So I don't know if any of you have sort of tried configuring workflows in the old system, but they were a little bit fiddly. You had to sort of connect the lines to each other, and if something wasn't right, it wasn't 100% clear what went wrong. So now it's really moved into sort of a drag and drop model. So you still do need to have some sort of understanding of, I guess, how the workflows are built, but actually building them is much easier. So for example, this workflow is a single level approval. And in order to do that, you've got a submit approval one box and an approved box. Let's say that I want to add a second level of approval to this workflow. So we need a submit approval two box. So we can just drag and drop that right there, and an approved two box, which we can drag and drop right there. So you don't need to sort of connect and disconnect lines anymore. It's really just you grab the task and drag and drop into the workflow. And that also sort of connects with the AI task, because when we build an AI task, those AI tasks also become sort of boxes that can be added to the workflow. So I'll explain a little bit better in a minute what that kind of looks like. And then if you wanted to delete them, so let's say there was a new manager and you wanted a 2-level approval for your business instead of a 1-level approval, you could add in those boxes. And then let's say the process changed again and you wanted to go back to a single level approval, you just hit this trash button and you just delete those boxes. So really simple to kind of drag and drop and add things to the workflow, etc., etc. If you want to create new workflows, you can do it from this page. So again, you can create from template, create from existing workflows, and create custom workflows. So generally what I do is I take an existing workflow and I copy it, and then I add whatever else I need to do. So let's say I want a 4-level approval workflow. I will duplicate a 4-level approval workflow. It'll give me a 4-level approval workflow, and then it'll give me the ability to make any changes that I want. So let's say I want to set the approver for the first level. I click on that little gear icon, and so we can see here the default approver is set at EzzyBills approval. So I can change that, I can edit that, etc., etc. So these are all the rules. Again, not going to go into it in details, the topic of a whole other webinar in terms of setting up and configuring approval workflows. But this just gives you an idea of some of the approval rules that we have and how we can set up those workflows. Okay, let's jump back to the questions. It looks like Michael's been answering them on the chat, which is...
I've nearly answered all of them.
You've answered them all in the chat.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Are there any that you think are sort of relevant to go through everyone, or more specific?
Well, yeah. Well, I was going to go through them actually, so other people can hear the responses. So there was a question about whether we can do account coding at a line level. So if you've got multiple lines on a bill, can EzzyBills set different account codes for each line? The answer is yes. The behavior is actually the default behavior. So when EzzyBills goes to work out what account code to apply to a particular line, we would look at the description of that line and would compare it against what's been what's in Xero right now or in MYOB. So if you've got an approved or paid bill in MYOB, which has a similar description, by similar, I mean, some of the words are the same as what's on the bill, then we would use whatever code you used previously. And if you had 3 different lines with 3 different descriptions, then potentially would use 3 different account codes. So that's fully supported. You shouldn't have to do anything. As long as your history has that information in it, then we will do the right thing. That's probably the main one, Elise.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I think that's a really good question. It's something we get a lot. There is another question here in the Q&A section. Recently, after submitting supplier invoice to EzzyBills, we experienced EzzyBills create an extra supplier card when exporting into our accounting system. E.g. Bunnings is an existing supplier, but it creates a new card. How do we stop this? Might hand that back over to you.
Yeah, what that means is that we've gone and looked up MYOB, and for some reason we just didn't find that supplier of yours. And so we've gone and created the best way to avoid that is to put the ABN number in MYOB. So go into MYOB, card file, supplier settings, I think it is, and there's a field where you can put in the ABN number. Put that in. Then when EzzyBills goes to find the supplier, it's not going to get it wrong. It's not going to see, it's going to find the right supplier. So it's not going to create a new one. So that's the solution.
Amazing. Okay, so good question from Emily. Can you set workflow to approval for project managers specific to purchase orders? So the answer is yes, but we need an AI task to do that. So I think it's actually probably a really good question to sort of jump into the next section, which is AI tasks. And again, we'll just chat about this at a high level. Michael gave a deep dive on this topic, I think back in February or March. So you can find the recording on our YouTube channel if you want to go into this topic in a little bit more detail. Generally speaking, what we recommend in these cases is just to contact our support team, and one of our account managers will just have a chat with you and help sort of determine what you need and sort of work with you to build the task. We will just jump into it now since it's the next on our list. And so this is, I guess another new feature that's been released towards the beginning of the year, February, March, something like that. And as you can see on this page, it's basically tell us what you want EzzyBills to do and we'll do it. So the question that someone just asked about approvers was really good. So we've been doing a lot of them for approvers based on PO number, based on item code, based on project number, et cetera, et cetera. So that's been a really popular use case. So, if the job number is 1234, get Bob to approve it. If the PO number is 345, get Laura to approve it, et cetera, et cetera. So we can sort of, build these tasks with your lists of job numbers, lists of project numbers, lists of PO numbers, and sort of integrate that with our approvals process. And then I guess another sort of common use case is sort of extra charges or fees or those kinds of things. So, one of the examples that's here is add a 5% charge to the invoice and include this charge in the final invoice amount. I had one that I built for a client where she had a $15 delivery fee that one of her suppliers was adding, but it wasn't actually a line item on the invoice. So we said, if the invoice comes from X supplier, automatically add a $15 delivery fee. So we can really use that AI task to help automate a lot of different things in your business. And like I said, you're welcome to have a play by yourself. You can, call the name something and, write in the description what you'd like it to do. But our team and our support team are also here and available to help. And then we are back to the dashboard where we started. So we've reviewed kind of the processing. I did want to just highlight these three dots because this is something that's new in the new UI, and specifically the ability to restart documents and to review them again. So if something hasn't processed through for whatever reason, you've got the ability to restart it. And if something is rejected in the approval stage, then there's also the ability to reprocess it once. So if, let's say, a manager rejected something because a price needed to be confirmed with the supplier, the person can go back, confirm the price with the supplier, and then it can be reprocessed from a reject stage back to an approved stage. And then if it is rejected for the second time, then it's rejected for good. Okay, so I think that's probably sort of the overview of the dashboard and the UI. So thanks so much for joining, and we'll just keep taking questions. So we'll go through the questions that are here, and happy to answer any questions that you have about the UI, about anything that I've talked about, or about anything else in EzzyBills. Okay, where are we at?
Yeah, so there was a question about that I just answered about is there a role where someone can just allow uploading, so no access to anything else, just the ability to upload documents. What I said is, well, you can email in the documents. There's currently no role to just support uploading, but if you credit an approver role, it's fairly similar. They have the ability to upload and approve invoices for them. So that's probably the best option right now.
Yeah, okay, that one we've answered live. Okay, Annette, if you need help setting up the rules for tasks, e.g. a percentage split for different suppliers to cost centers, can we have this done as a one-off, or do you need to pay the higher subscription for the full year? Annette, happy to have a chat offline. Generally speaking, in order for us to do any custom workflows, you need a premium subscription or above, but probably best to have the chat offline, just depending on the specific circumstances and what exactly you need. Okay, now we will jump back to the chat. Okay, Laura, where are we? Is it possible to delete "are not allowed a discount" line to come through onto an invoice? I don't know if I fully understand your question, Trish, but there is the ability to delete lines either when they have come through to the EzzyBills approval or when they have gone through to zero drafts.
Yeah, if you want to automate it, then that's where the AI tasks would come in. We could simply say remove the discount line from the invoice. So if we create an AI task that did that, then and then you upload it to that workflow, then it would just do that automatically.
Perfect. Okay, Laura, what are the reference numbers in the workflow steps? So export email 107, what does it mean? I would say don't worry about it. There's nothing from your perspective you need to worry about. That's just how it's been built from a developer perspective, and just sort of some internal reference numbers. Nothing for you to worry about. Are there plans to be able to edit an existing AI task without having to create a new one if we want to make modifications to it? Michael, I'll hand that one to you.
Probably not. So we routinely do that ourselves. We do have, at least if you just go to automated task, we are also creating what's called an AI form, and that would allow you to modify. So AI forms, you will be able to modify those. So maybe in the next month or so, you'd be able to edit those. The AI form gives you a bit of functionality in terms of manipulating the data, but AI task is probably what you want anyway. But yeah, you would need to regenerate the AI task each time.
Okay, Trish, good question. Is the webinar going to be available for watching later? 100% it will be available. So we will just do a little bit of basic editing, and we will send it out later this week to everyone who has registered. And it will also be available on our website. So 100% will be available. You're welcome to share it with anyone else who you think might be interested in watching it.
So there's a question here from Clive about the API, the EzzyBills API. So um, let me just, or maybe I can't. Elise or maybe I get too technical. But basically, Clive, everything you see in the UI is a result of calling to the EzzyBill REST API. So if you put the browser in a development mode, you can see all the API calls. So anything that we do in this UI is available to EzzyBill's users through the REST API.
Okay, Karen, creating workflow seems very complicated. Can you just use the automatic task function to create the workflow? It's a really good question. It's not something that's available yet. Better at this stage is just to contact our support team, and we're happy to help you. And that's
That
functionality that.
Yeah, that's interesting that because that is what we've actually been discussing. So we are going to have the ability for you to basically create workflows directly from say the automated task. So there'll be from the workflow, you'll be able to create a workflow which would include automated tasks. So you'll be able to describe what you want to happen, and we'll create the workflow and the automated tasks all in one place. So you'd have the whole lot done at one thing. So you wouldn't have to build your workflow from there. Um, Also, with the automated task, when you create an automated task, we automatically create a workflow for you. So that'll be the most recent workflow we've created, and then you'd be able to, you know, add additional things to it. Say, for example, if you wanted to create an AI task which removes the discount from an invoice, so you'd probably say something like iterate through the table. If the row description contains discount, remove it from the table. Then go create task. It would create a workflow with that task. You could then go and edit that workflow and drop like a zero export after it, and then that workflow would do pretty much what you want.
And I think, I guess, as somebody who's not technical like Michael is, I mean, the AI task is very powerful, but it does also require some, I guess, technical knowledge and some knowledge of actually how to describe what you want to do, so the system will actually do it.
Yeah. So we'll have another AI task AI form webinar in the near term. And we're adding more examples all the time. So if you have a look at some of the examples that I've got here, that gives you a sense of how you can go about creating the task. And if you get into difficulty, just contact support.
Can you please expand on restarting rejected invoice? Yeah, I've had that question a couple of times, so I'm just going to see what other questions are here, and I'll do a brief demo of that shortly. Okay, that we've answered. Can EzzyBill sends a copy of the invoice to Xero at the same time as it sends it out for approval? Yeah, so generally speaking, the default on our approvals is that we do the approvals before we export to Xero, but we can swap the workflow around where the document goes into Xero first and then sends an email out for approval. So yeah, definitely something that can be done. Feel free to contact support, and we're happy to help. What sort of businesses are ideally suited to using EzzyBills? It's a really interesting question. I would say any business that has expenses, which is probably every business, is suited to using EzzyBills. But I would say the businesses that probably get the most benefit from our product are businesses that have lots of invoices and businesses that have lots of invoices with lots of line items. So industries like retail, construction, hospitality, those types of industries probably find the most benefit. But we've got clients across the board. We've got gyms, we've got hotels, we've got accounting firms, we've got law firms, we've got professional services, engineers, architects, tradies, electricians, plumbers, really probably every type of business, SaaS businesses, really every type of business that's out there. We do have clients in that industry using EzzyBills. Okay. Michael, I might hand back to you with these questions from Kim. She's saying that they do have ABNs for the supplier and she's
Oh yeah,
still
yeah, yep, yep.
a double out.
So does she can she just send me the document ID for that one? And I will have a look. So Kim, just paste in the document ID, so the EzzyBills document ID, and that'll be enough information for me to work out um, what the issue is.
And just because Michael mentioned it, I think it's another good sort of PSA for our support team. Um, each document that's processed through to EzzyBills has an 8-digit what we call document ID that's assigned to it. Um, and if the dashboard comes to work again, there it is. It's also something in the new UI, they're much easier to find. So we've got this doc ID that's assigned to each document that we process. And so in this case, Kim, if you can find that for the document and send it to Michael. And like I said, I would just say a general PSA. If you're ever contacting support with any kind of question about a specific document that's done something or hasn't done something or exported or the default extraction worked or hasn't worked or whatever it is, just include the doc ID, because if you don't include the doc ID, support's just going to email you back and say, what's the doc ID? So just a PSA to save kind of a back and forth with support. Check the doc ID, include the doc ID in your email, and your question will get answered quicker. Okay, so I think Kim, we've answered that. You can send the doc ID and we will look into it. Is there a way to run a monthly report for a specific supplier? The reason is to find total spend purchased. So George, it's a good question. It's not functionality in EzzyBills. I would imagine that Xero might have that type of functionality built into Xero, but we don't have that type of functionality in EzzyBills. What's here? How do I stop EzzyBills coding the rounding amount to completely different code to the remaining bill?
Um, it's possible we have something in there that allows you to choose what account code you want. Normally, the way it would work is EzzyBills is going to export a bill. The description is going to be rounding, and the account code would be whatever you use in Xero for rounding. So if you've got a bill, an approved bill in Xero with a line description which says rounding and GL code of 330, then we would use 330. So that should be working automatically. So I would expect that just to work. Maybe you need to send us the doc ID so I can have a look what we used. So my guess is in your history, there's probably something that a rounding's been coded several different ways, and that might be causing the problem.
So yeah, just send the doc ID to support@ezzydoc.com and we'll look at it. Okay, I think we've gone through all of the questions that we have. Now's your chance, now or never. If anyone else has any questions, feel free to pop them into the chat or into the Q&A.
All right, there's a question here from George about a report per supplier. Um, so we can generate an Excel file uh, which would have all the suppliers that we've exported, all the bills, and effectively in an Excel file. So it would be possible to go from that to you know combine them all together and get some report from that. If you've got Excel skills, but in terms of an EzzyBill report, we don't have that specific thing. You just have to send maybe a request through to EzzyBill's support, and we can have a look at what you want. And yeah, we could add it.
Amazing. Okay, so it looks like the questions have probably come to an end.
Yeah, there's a question here about can EzzyBill send a copy of an invoice to Xero at the time it sends it out for
I,
approval?
I answered it.
Oh, you've answered that one already. Okay.
Yeah.
What did you say?
You'll have to watch the recording.
All right.
Amazing. So thanks again, everyone, for joining. It's been really good. I think one of the things I really enjoyed about this webinar compared to some of the other ones were the questions. Some really, really good questions. People really sort of interested to learn more and yeah, to find out how to use the piece of software the best possible way. So I really enjoyed that piece of it and answering your questions and I guess giving you a tour around our new dashboard, which we're really excited about. So yeah, like I said earlier, we will be sending this out to everyone who registered. So whether, if you have colleagues or friends who registered and didn't attend, we will be sending it out to them as well. And the recording will be publicly available probably on our YouTube channel and or our website in the near future. If you have any questions, any feedback, if you do happen to find a bug in the new UI that something's not working, please let us know. We're happy to be in touch. And we are here to help.
Thanks very much, Elise.
No problem. Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye bye.